This week, the Bafana Bafana head coach Hugo Broos announced his final squad for the upcoming crucial back-to-back 2025 AFCON qualifiers against Congo. Now, Coach Hugo Broos has kept the bulk of the squad, which featured in those qualifiers against Uganda and South Sudan, respectively. So South Africa need to overcome Congo Brazaville in order to qualify for the AFCON. And of course, they need to do it in those back-to-back matches, which start with their home fixture in Gqeberha next Friday. They are currently second in Group K. They're on 4 points and they're just behind on Uganda on goal difference. So we are now joined by the SABC Sport reporter Velile Mnyandu to talk about the selection and of course the upcoming matches. A very good evening to you, Velile. Thank you so much for making time for us. I mean, we speak about a Bafana Bafana side that now hold the destiny in their own hands. Let's talk about the permutations going into this encounter. What exactly does the national team have to do?
Thank you, Chloe. Well, in fact, I'm joining you live coming from Gqeberha. As you know, that Bafana Bafana is playing here next weekend. This is also home to Ronan Williams as well. So we are waiting the team. They arrive tomorrow, I think just before lunchtime. We will be here. But look, this is a 6-pointer to how the coach called it, Hugo Broos, even when he announced his squad. We're playing against Congo Brazaville, a team that has not started very well in this tournament. And there's a belief that 6 points also doesn't just get us in a good position, but also when it comes to Congo Brazaville, it also means that on head-to-head, we've eliminated them. So that will put us in a good position to qualify in November when we meet Uganda and also South Sudan. So there's a strong belief that 6 points should be enough to take us to Morocco next year.
You made mention of a very critical player there, Ronan Williams, the captain of the national team, and he is back, and it is a welcome back to the squad. But also we speak of that in the same vein as the Amazulu goalkeeper, of course, Velile Mnyandu, who doesn't feature in this final squad. What do you make of that goalkeeping department in terms of Bruce's selection?
I think when Ronan was not there, we saw the confusion even in terms of who was to get the #1 jersey, and it didn't come as a surprise. After what happened, we saw the changes that took place. Sipho Chain also came in, and then congratulations to Sipho Chain and the rest of the Orlando Pirates players who will be coming here in Gqeberha tomorrow on winning the MTN 8 just not long ago. So we're not entirely surprised, and I think the howler that also happened at Orlando Stadium was followed up what happened at his club, that is Velile Mnyandu, and we saw they went as far as even signing Richard Ofori to strengthen their goalkeeping department. But I think as South African football fans, we welcome the return of Ronan Williams. And I think his return is long overdue after the challenges even his team also had at Mamelodi Sundowns. And I think there's also an extra boost of confidence in the Bafana Bafana team, because also even how we play as well is very much part of even how we initiate some of the attacks from the back. And I think for me, I know that even for the Yashin Trophy, the votes have started trickling in. And I think one of the things that we should be making now is to encourage people to vote. I know that Thibaut Courtois, he's got those numbers, the global fans of Real Madrid. But I think Ronan, for me, the fact that he's coming home and also the fact that he's returning, because clearly this is also a historic moment for us, because the last time we played against Congo, the late Senzo Mayiwa, he kept goals and he was brilliant. And he passed away just immediately after having helped us to get 4 points against Congo Brazaville. And I think for someone like Ronan, this should be an emotional game.
Of course, the goalkeeping department has a lot of factors in terms of speaking points. I mean, we look at a Sipho Chain that made his debut against South Sudan, conceding those goals. How fierce is that competition, especially with Ricardo Goss also in the picture?
I think the gap between Sipho Chain and other goalkeepers, in fact, the gap between Ronan and other goalkeepers is huge. And I'm basing this on what some esteemed goalkeeper coaches have been saying to us during this period of Ronan coming back. We've spoken to Andre Arense, we've spoken to even the goalkeeper coach at Bafana Bafana, Grant Johnson, and he did say that the gap between Ronan and the rest of the goalkeepers in South Africa is very big. And I think this is one area that we will really need to look at. There have been suggestions that maybe when it comes to the issue of foreign goalkeeping, should we follow the trend of what has been happening in Egypt, where they introduced the rule that there are no foreign goalkeepers, which I think it will be extreme to go to those lengths. But I think maybe we must say that each and every club must only have one foreign goalkeeper, whether naturalized or not.
We also saw the inclusion, of course, of Gqeberha and Kholiso Mudau, even though they really haven't had a lot of game time at Mamelodi Sundowns. And when posed the question, Hugo Broos, about the lack of game time and how it would affect their selection into the national team, he said if it does persist, if this issue does persist, then they might be dropped off at some point. Do you think he was well within his rights to speak on the selection process that goes on at Sundowns and really making inferences on what Manqoba Nqethi does with the club?
I think if you recall what happened with the first two matches in these AFCON qualifiers, there were issues around the match sharpness or lack of match sharpness thereof, and this affected players who had not played because we had a delayed start into the new season. So I think the coach is well within his rights, because at this level, international level, match fitness is very important. So if you miss 5 consecutive games, that affects the team, because your levels of match sharpness will not be the same as other players. So I think the comment of the coach comes from that background. And also, if you look at some of the goals that we considered and how these goals came about, it was also maybe the lack of fluidity that we had in the midfield between Teboho Mokoena and also Pepelo Stole. Now think about it. Pepelo Stole is out injured, and you have your first choice central midfielder in Mokoena and also not playing regularly. And now, what would you say as the coach? Do you drop Mokoena? No, because we cannot go to this kind of a game. We didn't have our number 1 goalkeeper in the previous games, and now we don't have our first choice midfield pairing. So it makes sense that he's selected them now, but with the hope that something better would be happening at Sundowns after this coming international week.
Another AFCON qualifier and the Al Ahly star, Percy Tau, still not part of the Bafana setup. What do you make of the Percy Tau situation?
I think there are issues there. But obviously now I think it's just a PR way of handling the situation. And I think maybe the comments or back-to-back comments or from the coach and also the player in terms of why was he not selected in the previous camp, those issues could be coming up. Because remember last time, it made sense that the coach didn't select Percy because he was not active at his club. He was not even training with his team. There were even issues at Al Ahly. But now he's back, and he even scored a brace for Al Ahly one time, and even went and also played in the Super Cup, at the CAF Super Cup for Al Ahly. So he's back in favor at his club, but now he's not available for selection at Bafana Bafana. So that does ring a bell, and I hope that whatever is there is sorted out, especially ahead of the next international week.
Before we let you go, Velile Mnyandu, we know that also in Congo for the away fixture, the conditions are going to be different, especially with the pitch. The coach alluding to the fact that it won't be synthetic, but also saying that they need these 6 points. Do you think it is a possibility that Bafana Bafana in these back-to-back matches can bring back the 6 points and qualify for next year's AFCON?
I think probably our team has proven, especially coming to these AFCON qualifiers as bronze medalists from the AFCON earlier this year in Cote d'Ivoire, that this is a team that is capable of going and traveling on the continent and return with the maximum points. And I'm also basing this in the mental strength. Just look at the mental strength of Bafana Bafana players. Even in this Orlando Pirates final that has just finished now, this is the mental strength of the players that we've got, that it's not over until it's over. And we saw what happened at Orlando Stadium with Mbata scoring on debut and again followed that up in South Sudan as well. And I know that there are issues even in Congo. I've heard earlier today that there's friction between the government and also the FA in Congo, and I think they also have their own challenges. And I'm not sure how this could impact even in their home fixture. But I think what is important, we must do our business, we get the maximum points, and we put ourselves in a good position to return to the AFCON once again.
Velile Mnyandu, as always, an absolute pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for your insights.